serious note, if you don't know what you're doing, please don't work in a high voltage environment. It can only end badly. Hey everybody, I'm Amp Tech Ron. Welcome back to the Amp Lab. Today is Tools of the Trade, where I'm going to do a long overdue look at a very humble but one of the most important pieces of repair gear. Because as a technician, we have really two kinds of tools. We have measurement tools, which I would argue the most important one is my Fluke multimeter, and we have repair tools. And I would say that soldering iron is that almost all repair jobs, or say quite a few of them, require soldering and desoldering bad parts. And so I use these a lot, and it's important to have a good one. Because a lot of people, they ask me, why is soldering difficult or when they have problems and everything. Usually I kind of cut them off, and the first thing I ask them is, well, what are you soldering with? Is it some Radio Shack plug into the wall, no temperature control kind of number? And if they say yes, I say, well, that's your problem. Even I would have problems with that. It makes it difficult. What you need is something similar to what you see up here on the left. That's a Weller WES 51. It's a 50-watt iron. I've had it for about 15 years, and the only thing I ever have to replace is the tips. There's a couple tips up there. You replace those when they stop melting the solder so well. And you can figure out pretty quick when they start going bad and they look ugly and everything. But this brand, they're not very expensive. You can get them on eBay or whatever pretty inexpensively. That's certainly one thing. Heiko also makes a couple good ones. Anywhere 25 to 50 watts is more than enough. I also have a great big plug-in number. If I need to do ground chassis and stuff like that, I'm sure you've seen them, the gigantic gun-looking numbers with a huge metal tip on it. But I rarely use that. But like I say, I use this one almost every day, and it has now kind of like a little shovel-shaped tip. But for finer work, I use one of these finer tip ones there. You'll also need a collection of solder. There's some bigger and smaller ones there, and some solder braid to help you desolder stuff. With this collection you see here, that's going to handle 90% of your electronic stuff, what you need for fixing or fooling around and everything. Plus these little hand-free numbers coming in handy. Like I say, don't cheap out on a soldering iron. I know you can get one of these Wellers for anywhere 100, 150 bucks, something like that. Like I say, it's performed flawlessly for me, so highly recommended. Well, I'm not a psychic, but I'm going to predict your future. One day, you're going to be trying to make this little Chinese-made distortion pedal somebody gave you for free into a tube screamer or something. So you're going to take your RCA 4558 op amps and substitute those for these ones in there. Or maybe something else. You want to swap a couple different ones there. Well, trying to extract that 8-pin wonder from the circuit board, I hate to be a spoiler here, but it's going to suck even with a good iron like this and the solder braid and everything. Getting it out of there without destroying it, you got to be pretty good. And it's, like I say, no fun, and it's time consuming. So what do you do? Well, for that and also other parts you're going to find in bigger, thicker circuit boards are also going to be hard to extract, even if there's 1 or 2 pins on there. So in this case, let me introduce you to the Heiko 808 desoldering tool. Now this isn't for everybody. They're about $200. That's how much they were a few years ago when I got them. But man, they do a great job. If you have to extract an IC like that, how they work is that it's got a solder tip there, and once it melts the solder, you pull the trigger and it has a very powerful vacuum in there, and boom, it sucks all the solder up into this little container there where you can empty it later. It's very convenient, very easy, and literally it's just as simple as for 4558, 8 pulls of that trigger and it comes off clean. So if you want to substitute parts in, or whatever, just have a lot of that kind of work to do with ICs, you got to have this. I don't use it a lot, but boy, every time I use it, I think, thank God I got this. It comes with little accessory kits, because sometimes the tips will get clogged with solder, and you have a little ramrod you got to take to it. And you'll have to replace the tips sometimes too, because they'll become less efficient at melting the solder. And they're not super cheap. They're a couple bucks each, but they're easy enough to get on eBay. Like I said, if you do any kind of work with ICs, or you're going to take the next level up and being a pro, this is the thing to have. And the last kind of soldering here we're going to have to do is surface mount components. If you ever look at the computer motherboards and stuff like that, and you see all the little resistors and caps that are smaller than a grain of rice, I tell you this, don't do it. I've tried to repair some certain parts on there, see burned out little resistors and replace them or something. It's almost impossible. You'll do nothing but waste time on that. So anything that has surface mount components is a board throwaway thing, unless it's one of the larger components like a 1/4 inch connector or a big filter cap or something. But you'll rarely, get lucky enough to do that. All the other parts are pretty much non-serviceable, so don't waste your time on that. Well, I hope you learned some stuff about soldering gear. Let me know what you think. Guys, have a good day. Thanks for joining me at the App Lab. See you next time.